Hi, welcome to Innovate Training. My name is Carol Peugeot, and this is Miss Carol's Refresher Course. And we are currently in Introductory to Accounting. Lesson 6, Printing to the Ledger. So, make sure that you have the documents that we used last week. We need the journal sheet that you had and the T account sheets that you had. And make sure that you also print out a journal sheet. You're actually going to need about 4 of them. 4 of the journal sheets that are in the comments below, down below. So I'll see you in the accounting room. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to post to our journal. Or actually not post from the journal, rather, to the ledger cards or ledger accounts. And let me show you what you're going to need. You're first going to need the exercise 7, the mini demonstration, what we worked on last week. You really will only need this area right here, these things right here. You need these account numbers. And then you're going to need the journal from last week that we completed. You have all your transactions, and then you have your balance that did balance between debits and credits. You'll need that. And that was only one sheet, so you should only have one sheet there. Your T accounts, we're not going to really need this information, so you can take this and put it aside. There we go. Then you're going to need your ledger accounts, your printouts. The ledger accounts are in the descriptions down below. You'll need 4 of them because it has 3 per page, and we need 10. If you count the accounts, remember we had 10 accounts here. So you'll need 10 of these. Each page has 3. So we know that 3 times 3 is 9. So we'll need an extra one to have that extra, 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay? So you'll need about 4. Now, let me explain something. In the real world, this ledger account or this ledger card would be an entire page or even an entire book. But for these exercises, we've condensed them so that we could fit 3 on one page. So in the real world, it's not like this. Okay, in the real world, you'll have one page, or actually books of pages, for each account. Okay? Or ledger cards. We used to use cards. They were kept in a bucket, and we kept these cards. So just keep that in mind as we're doing this exercise. So we're doing these exercises for the sake of saving space and saving the amount of paper that we have to print out. Okay? All right. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our exercise sheet here that has our accounts. Okay? And then we're going to start labeling our ledger card account sheets. Okay? So I'm going to do the first one together with you, and then I'm going to let you go ahead and complete those yourself. So the first one we're going to do is cash. So I'm going to take this account sheet, ledger account section here, and I'm going to write cash under account name. And then under account number, I'm going to put the number 101. Okay? So I want you to do that for each one of these accounts until you have all 10 of them accounted for. Okay, just do them in the order. Once you do them, then you can just kind of check it or cross it off. Okay? We'll come back when you're done. When we come back, I will explain these columns to you. Okay? I'll see you in a few. Okay, so we should have completed this now. Labeling our ledger accounts. So, I took my ledger accounts here, I have 10 of them, and I labeled each one. So here I have cash 101, software 105, supplies 110, equipment 112, accounts receivable FGS 120, accounts payable WTCS 201. Then there's CWS Capital 301, CWS Withdrawing 302, Fees and Income 410, and then finally Utilities Expense 503. So that makes 10. All right. So before we get started, I just want to explain the columns. So the first column is the date, and this is the date that the transaction was completed from the ledger, from the journal. So as we're bringing the information from the journal, we're going to put the date that it happened. Under this column is a description. We only write something here when it's necessary, when there's something that's a little unusual. But otherwise, we're going to leave this blank because everything else speaks for itself. Posting reference, what we're going to put here, I'll show you as we do it. And then when we post from the journal, we're going to post whether it was a debit or whether it was a credit. And then we're going to be keeping our balance. Now, remember we talked about a normal balance. A normal balance is we keep the balance running on the point on the balance that the debit or the credit, whichever one increases the account. So for instance, this is the capital. The capital account, it balances, it increases on the credit side. But if it was an asset like cash, it increases on the debit side. So we would keep a debit running balance. Okay. Now that's not to say that it couldn't be a credit balance. A cash could be a credit balance, meaning that it's in the negative. So our cash is over in the negative. But that's not going to happen today, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, so let's get started. What you will need, now that you did your accounts, you no longer need this. You could put that to the side. You will need your journal from last week. Okay? Your journal from last week should be completed with all the transactions in chronological order. With the balance, you balanced your debits and you balanced your credits, and they do balance. They should. If they don't, then something was entered incorrectly, a number was entered incorrectly, or you entered a number on a debit or a credit the wrong side. It should have been a debit or it should have been a credit. Okay? But they do balance, so we did it correctly. Okay. So now we're going to get started, and we're going to enter our transactions on our ledger cards. When we enter our transactions on our ledger cards, that's actually called posting. So now we're going to post our accounts. And that's where this column is going to come into place. Posting reference. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start posting our transactions from the journal to the ledgers. So this is, the first transaction was June 2nd of 2021. So I'm going to go over here to our ledger accounts, and I'm going to see that the first account was cash. So I'm going to go over here and find the cash ledger account. Let's see if we can do it like this, where we can see everything. Okay, so the date was 2021, so I'm going to write 2021 right here, just like we did on the journal. And the very first thing I'm going to write is June 2nd. Okay, I'm not going to write anything under description because it doesn't need anything. It speaks for itself. So the cash, we're going to just look at that one, was debited $25,000. So over here, under debit, I'm going to write $25,000. Okay. So what does that bring our balance to? It brings our balance to a debit balance of $25,000. And I'm going to leave it right there. And then from here, under posting reference, this account is 101. So over here, I'm going to put 101. Now we have a posting reference here as well. So on this posting reference, I'm going to put the journal page. Journal page 1. J-1. So me indicating 101 here indicates that this line has been posted. Okay? So now I'm going to go down to the next line. That is CWS Capital. So what I need to do is I need to find my capital account. There's the capital, CWS Capital. That was the year 2021, June 2nd. And that was a credit. So over here under credit, I'm going to put 25,000. And that brings us to a balance of 25,000. And that's a credit balance. And then our posting references. On the journal, I'm going to write the account number 301. And then here, I'm going to write the journal page J1. So on the ledger, I'm writing the journal page. On the journal, I'm writing the account number. Now, this indicates that this transaction here is completed. We don't need to cross it out because this is our journal. We don't want to cross anything out in our journal. We want to keep that journal, even though it in itself is not the official document at this point, but we want to keep our journals. Okay? So the next line of next transaction is June 9th, and it's cash. So we're going to go over here to our cash. And we're going to post to our cash. This is June 9th. I'm going to go ahead and write it on the next line of service. We don't skip lines here. June 9th. We don't need anything for our description. And how much is it? $450. That was a debit, right? So we're going to go ahead and debit our cash account for $450. And then we're going to go over here and bring our balance. That brings our balance to $25,000 to $450. Okay. So this right here will be a running balance. Every time we add or subtract, we will be reducing or adding or subtracting here. Okay. So cash has been posted. So here I'm going to write 101. And under this one, I'm going to write J1. And now we're going to do the next transaction. Here is, remember, each transaction has 2 entries. So this entry is for fees and income. So we're going to go over here to our fees and income. And it's right here. Fees and income. Okay, $450 was credited. So I'm going to write the date. 2021 June 9th. That was a credit. $450. Which brings our balance here to $450. Posting reference over here is going to be the account number 410. Posting reference here will be the journal page, which would be J1. Now, if you want to here, it's not necessary because you have it on your journal, but you can write under your description here your check number. Okay, so that one is complete. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go ahead and complete these transactions onto the journal ledger accounts. When we come back, we will compare and to make sure that you have posted everything correctly. I'll see you in a few. Okay, so I have completed all my posting of my transactions here on my journal. I posted them to the ledger. Now I'm not going to go through each one here, but I'm going to show you my cash and what I did here. So under cash, under each transaction, whether it was a debit or a credit. So this particular transaction was the first one we did together, which was $25,000. I added to the balance, which was $25,000. The next one was another debit of $450. That added to that balance $25,450. Now the next transaction was actually a credit, which means we paid out. So when I credited it, I had to subtract the $450 from that $445 rather, from that $25,450, which gave me $25,005. So you see how I'm doing this here? If I'm adding to it with a debit, I'm adding to this balance. If I'm subtracting to it, like on this particular one, we subtracted the $5,300, which gave us a balance of $19,705. Okay, so you would do that with each of the other accounts. Some of them will only have just one transaction. That's fine. Show you accounts receivable here. This one's interesting because this one had a debit, which means it increased the accounts receivable. That's when somebody bought something from us, which gave them a balance of $4,890. But then they went and made a payment, so I credited it $450, which subtracted, because in this particular type of account, remember, accounts receivable, that's an asset, we decrease it by crediting it, so which gave me a balance of $4,440. So go ahead and finish up each one of those. When you are done with each transaction, you do the posting reference by putting the journal J1, and then on the journal you put the posting reference of the account number. Okay? Now, we're not going to worry about our balances here on our accounts. Just finish up, always keep your running balance, but don't add these together, because we're going to do something with these. I'm going to post in the description the correct ledger accounts, so you can check yours against mine to see if you did it correct. Next week, we're going to take this information from our ledger and we're going to apply it to the accounting worksheet. And from there, everything's going to become together. Okay? So finish that up. Keep your running balances. Add where you need to add. Subtract where you need to subtract. And then check for the description for the account, for the ledger accounts, the key to the exercises we did today. Okay? All right, so this is Carol Peugeot from Innovate Training. I will see you next week. And bye-bye. Well, that was fun. So next time, our lesson 7, we are going to be posting to the worksheet. We're going to take the information we used today, so save it and post to the worksheet. So this is Carol Peugeot from Innovate Training, Miss Carol's refresher course. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Carol Peugeot, and don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to hit that